Okay. Okay, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, can you hear me? I think you can. I think you can. I think you can. Let's just wait a little bit until people come into the stream. Let's just wait a little bit. 2507. Is he saying that it's going to be in summer or something? Okay, I don't know. I don't know. Hello, hello, my friend. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Do I make this window smaller? Okay. Hello, hello, Brax. Hello, my friend. I actually was thinking about doing the stream later, but once I saw that there's a video about Yorick changes, 3 hours, it posted 3 hours ago, and it's only about Yorick, I was thinking, gonna watch it live. Because, I'm a little bit excited because that, not every day you see Mr. Freak's head here in the corner in a video which is only about Yorick, right? So we'll see what happens. I haven't watched this, okay? I only saw the first couple of seconds when he said hello summoners or something like that, whatever he says usually. So it is going to be a live reaction. Please put down the bat. What does that mean? Do you think he's gonna bat? Do you think? Okay, let me make a poll. Engage with your audience. Start a poll. Are these changes going to be good? Yes, no. Start poll. There it is. You know, I'm gonna say... Oh, I can't even vote. Yeah, I can't even vote. I don't know why I can't vote, but itty what itty. This has... Okay, I see what's happening. I think I need to vote... Okay, it's messed up the window. It has messed up the window a little bit, you know. Let's just try to fix that so that it's not in front of the whole chat. Restream chat. Okay. Damn, I can't fix it. I guess I will have to end the poll because it's using a different window. It's using an end poll. I wonder if there's a fix to this. This window, you know, that I use for the chat, it's a little bit of a different window. I can't control the way it's, you know, moving around. I can't control, you know, it's not reacting to any clicks and stuff. So I actually don't know if I can do it. I actually don't know if I can do it. Might have to give up on this one. Hello, Velez. Hello, my friend. Hello, 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 my friends. Okay, so it's 80% yes. I'm gonna end it at that. Maybe I'm gonna, you know, do it later again. Check if you click the small padlock. Okay, I think a few people have come in already, so I think I can start watching it because it's gonna be 35 minutes,
What's up, fellow gamers? Freak here. I am
right?
here to talk to you today about Yorick, who went to
Can you hear my fellow gamer freak? I think it's a
PvE
normal.
earlier today for me, though when you watch this,
Let me know
maybe it
if
was a
the audio of him is low.
couple days or weeks ago or whatever, but we
Okay.
have a Yorick update coming to a League of Legends near you in about a week and a half. And I want to talk
Week and a
about
half.
what this
Okay.
project is, what's in it, why I'm hopeful it's going to be good for Yorick and the game overall, and what went into it. So, this is a project that I started just kind of on a whim in the middle of January, so about 2-ish months ago.
Interesting. The first thing I see is wanted to fix some inability to team fight. That's interesting because I've been thinking that for such a long time. I've been thinking, yeah. Okay.
As we've had to keep trying to tune Yorick around mostly really, really high, low MMR solo queue win rates, often to the chagrin of high MMR Yorick players, and that feels pretty bad to have a champion that you really love, you spent hundreds of hours, thousands of hours playing, and it's being tuned towards some degree of unviability. And I don't think Yorick.
Yeah, Velez, it's exactly the same thing. I was when I was when I started playing the health build, um, I I noticed that when you release Maiden, for example, and then you quote unquote join a team fight, you are most useful when you just throw the W, exactly as you said, and then you walk away and then you push another lane. And the W can do something. It can be very game changing because it is it blocks it messes up the team fight, but it can also do nothing. So yeah. Okay.
Professes to be
It's interesting that he says that in January he started thinking, and it's his project.
such a
It's
sort of
already
like easy,
starting off quite interesting.
straightforward champion where you expect a larger play rate and more success in lower MRs, like say a Set or a Garen or something. I don't think Yorick is that kind of a champion, and so it feels bad to me when it's like, oh, this champion is like really, really bound to or really constrained by how successful he is in lower MMRs, and I'd like to flatten that out a little bit because he can still be successful in lower MMR. It's fine, but like,
Yeah, I have no idea about the low MMRs. He's probably talking about bronze or something. I don't know what's I think it's bronze and silver and up to gold, maybe. Yeah. Hello, Velas. Welcome to the Ghoul Gang.
allow him to be meaningfully more successful than he currently is in higher MRs, where the counterplay is like really easily accessed, and a lot of stuff kind of really sucks here. So I'd like to do that a little bit, not flatten it out, not go high elo skewed, whatever, but make it a little bit nicer. Okay, it's a problem to solve. It's not terribly exciting, but heart the right place. Second thing was realize that Yorick is really not a viable team fighter. He's obviously really good at split pushing. He's good at one-on-ones.
He do be preaching. He do be preaching today.
But he really does not have the tools to team fight very well. There's a lot that goes into it. To be clear, I don't think I fixed everything here. I don't think he's a great team fighter, but the goal was make it.
Oh yeah, of course I remember you, Dr. Velas. Of course I do. You're one of the top G donators and sharers of knowledge, I would say, through the emails. By the way, somebody donated off stream, so I created a hat. I was thinking, what could I do to symbolize the kind of the new year, new computer? Because I need to pump those numbers up, and I was thinking, if you have any suggestions, please. For now, I only have 1% equals one new hat, and it's kind of ridiculous to think that. What if I get to 90 new hats, up until the end of the year? And they also need to stay up, But that's just my initial thought. So that's, that's just to kind of symbolize the donation that was off stream. So, yeah, let's continue with this. I'm
Better.
really, this is really exciting. I'm sorry if you want to see gameplay. I might not play until this video is over.
I think that is landed. I think it's overall going to be a little bit more positive. The goal was make it better. I think that is landed. I think it's overall going to be a little bit more positive. Also wanted to modernize his kit. There's a couple like random things here, like a lot of this is kind of under the hood, where it'll just be easier to maintain parts of the kit going forward because of random numbers changes. We'll talk about those when we get to them. But also just generally, a lot of the rules around how things interact are kind of old, and with the benefit of years of hindsight and years of other game changes, like, well, we can kind of dive in here and clean stuff up and make stuff work a little bit better and make it a little more intuitive. And so these aren't like the most extremely amazing goals ever by any means.
Okay.
But once they able to kind of dig into the project, was able to get sort of more concrete stuff and more directly positive things that are there to make Yorick feel better, and start talking about, okay, well, what really is Yorick meant to do? How's it meant to feel? What's meant to be impactful? And
I wonder if when they design champions, they have they keep this in mind. Oh, we mean this to be like this. And I've said this before, I really don't like that. I feel like, especially what made League of Legends great was the randomness of the champions, and then people figure out how they feel and what they want to do with them. And I don't know what if he means it in this way here, but whenever they say that they want this to be in a particular way, I immediately cringe a little bit. I like, I don't really like that. Yeah.
I think ultimately landed on a set of changes that is positive, though again, I don't think has solved every problem with Yorick. I think there is still work to be done. However, in terms of time management, in terms of having a lot of other stuff to do, I'm sorry that we couldn't do more here for Yorick players. Again, I think it's a step forward, but there's always more to do in League of Legends, and I'm basically intending to move on and do other stuff here. But I want to go
a bit like Yorick's beard, only very short. He looks a little bit like Yorick, don't you think? If he had a hood on.
Out the door, because I think there's some.
If these changes are going to be horrible, okay, no, never mind.
Real improvements here. Okay, cool. Let's move forward and talk about what's going on here. Also, I want to give a very big shout out to Riot Aphic and all of the incredible Yorick mains that he reached out to and gave a lot of feedback. He shared a lot of work in progress, changed with them.
Hey, nobody reached out to me.
Would come back and give information. He'd relay stuff.
I am offended here.
He did an amazing job of playing telephone for us and being a really good touch point there. So shout out everyone who gave feedback. Again, shout out to Aphic for being really awesome here. The hope is that we land something that is good for Yorick players, that Yorick players are happy about, and that make him feel better as a champion. Now, will there be balance problems? Likely. That's pretty possible. As we just saw from Nefiri, Gwen, and Singe, they all landed OP. I would like to not land significantly OP here, but if we get it wrong, I'm sorry. If it's the micro patch, we will. If it's overtuned, undertuned, we'll fix it, in the coming up patch, whatever. But the goal is to make something that's good for Yorick players. That
they have to make him OP at least for a hot second, because then people are going to be excited. But then again, they're going to be big mad when they tune it down.
After balance updates is still a positive experience for the champion. All right, so broad strokes, what's actually happening? Number one is more Mistwalkers.
It's crazy that they more Mistwalkers. Boom. Oh no, they're gonna be nerfed. Yeah, I am Yorick. Why didn't they contact me? They are directly nerfing or buffing me.
That's like the simplest way to say it is he's going to be able to summon them way more often, way more frequently. He will have his ghoul army way more often than before. The Mistwalkers themselves are going to be tankier sometimes, and
my first instinct is that it's going to make him a little bit more like Nefiri, where you just don't look at the pets. They are just like a swarm of something, and you think, oh, the champion is coming, whatever. Why would you even think about that?
Squishier and others. I want to point out that current Mistwalkers, functionally on live right now, don't have a real health bar in, I think, literally any individual interaction. And that's changing to them having a real health bar in more interactions. We'll talk about that later. But they are going to generally deal less damage. Yorick's damage output is going to be less about long-range fire and forget damage. It's going to be a little bit less about his minions. On a per minion basis, he will, again, generally have more minions.
Don't like that.
He will be...
Because I think a while ago I said that they have Yorick in their target. They really don't want him to be the long-range mage. I feel like I've been saying that Yorick is a long-range mage, and he was, especially like 2 years ago. But if they're, you know, it's starting to look grim, my friends.
He himself more
The
powerful.
first minutes here, starting to look grim.
But he will have more Mistwalkers. They're going to be tankier sometimes, squishier others, and they're going to generally deal less damage. One big thing that I think is really important is level 1 to 6 is substantially better. It maybe needs to be buffed by more than it currently is, and we didn't go hard enough here. This is one of the later things that kind of went in to make his 1 to 5 like feel like it's real, his 1 to 6 feel like it's real, and the fact that he's maybe able to fight for himself in the lane. Hopefully it's, you know, at least a little bit better here and is going to be felt. Late game is going to be generally worse. This is mostly through Mistwalker scaling. His late game isn't really much worse from a personal kit perspective, but in terms of the actual power of Mistwalker.
Okay, so he's talking about the PBE right now, I guess. So level 1 to 6 is better right now.
That's going to be pretty definitive here, that it's going to be worse in the late game. But a big thing is that Yorick is more self-reliant. Obviously, he still wants his Mistwalkers. They're still a meaningful part of his power budget. He cares about Maiden. Like, yes, he's still a Minion Mancer, and that is still going to be true. The degree to which it's true, I guess, is slightly lower, but not by a huge degree. But the big thing is that he has a lot more self-reliance in summoning those minions and getting those units out, and less about having to be in a minion lane, in a minion wave, in a lane to get those things out. So it should be a pretty meaningful upgrade there.
Because I've gotten used to his voice. I think I'm going to understand.
Overall, there's a lot of power. In general, the things we've talked about so far is win rate positive, I'm pretty confident in. And so E and R both, as standalone spells, are going to be becoming a little bit weaker. The current numbers on PvE are not up to date anymore. I've already submitted some new changes. There's probably some more changes to do around the R as well. I think the number's probably still a bit too high. But E and R both, as standalone spells, are generally going to be weaker. That's the compensation for everything else getting stronger, of course. There's some future-proofing to mini calculations. Basically, it's... The way I view it is if your ability already has level scaling on it, it shouldn't be using total attack damage or max health as the modifier there, because at the end of the day, level scaling already does that, right? If you have a total AD ratio and a level scaler, you basically just made an obfuscated level scaler plus bonus AD ratio, because you leveling up gives you more base attack damage, aka influencing the total AD ratio. So,
okay, he started talking about stuff I don't understand.
Why is there level scaling and this? This is, you know, compared to say like Garen Q or Yorick Q or Darius W, where it's like it's a total AD ratio and like a base damage or something. Where it's like, yeah, the ranks matter some amount, and then like it scales with my champion because total AD is just like a very kind of clean, like easy thing to use. But if you're gonna, you know, look at Mistwalkers or Maiden or anything like this and be like, it has 0 base damage.
Oh yeah, yesterday the Nafiri W Riceland. I was really surprised. I played, I think, yesterday, and she just jumped into the air, and I was thinking, you know, I don't know her abilities, but yeah, they changed it. So she did survive because of it, and I was, let's just say, angrily surprised at that. Oh, I don't like any of this.
50% of your total
You know, it's getting more depressing and depressing as I go into this video longer and longer.
AD, it's like, why? Those feel kind of...
Because right now, he's saying a bunch of stuff about a bunch of stuff, and I feel like all of that can be summarized into that there's going to be less interesting moments. That's it. You know, I feel like because maybe he's just going to become Nafiri, and that's the worst thing that could happen. And you know,
weird. Ult specifically, I don't think always need total AD ratios in a lot of cases because they are ranked so consistently, right? 6, 11, 16. They functionally scale throughout the game really cleanly anyway, so you don't need to massage it in the middle there. I think Wukong R is... Okay, I'm going way too into the weeds here. These don't really matter. The big thing is basically why this is good, especially for things like, let's say, the Mistwalkers, is by changing from total AD or max health to bonus AD and bonus health and a different level scaling paradigm is now you don't get tankier or more damaging Mistwalkers just by changing Yorick's base stats. Like if Yorick is too tanky or not tanky enough or does too much auto attack damage, you don't suddenly collateral the minions by changing a champion's base stats. It makes those tweaks more impactful. It means if you're trying to do things really zero sum and keep things equal, you'd be like, oh, I changed Yorick's AD.
You mean max health? If Yorick is beyond unplayable, do you have a backup OTP? No, I do not.
Growth, so I've got to go back and change.
I might play Singed a little bit.
Change the level scaling on like Mistwalker AD, and like that's not good for future proofing, right? If you have a goal in mind of how much damage things do, you can just have that and be like, actually, you know, I want Yorick to buy more longswords. Okay, well the AD ratio goes up. Well, that increases the base damage because it's a total AD ratio. Like that gets messy and funky and kind of annoying. So unwinding that some, right? Okay, that's the point. That's the concise version. I went kind of long. Sorry. W has literally 0 changes. I did try some changes. We reverted them, but yeah. So W has no changes. XD. I tried a version where it was untargetable. I lowered the duration as like a. Before you even posted a version, I tested a version that was like half the duration but untargetable, so you couldn't break the wall. You were just stuck in the circle for 2 seconds or whatever. Ultimately, the primary feedback was, so I was initially worried about how long duration was allowed to be because it's not tenacityable. Yeah, something's going to jump out of the wall, of course, but it was like, well, you can't break it anymore. So, wow, I'm really worried about like the max CC duration where you can't cleanse, you can't use tenacity, whatever else. Like some champs are just screwed here, like Vayne, can't leave. She's just there until she decides that she's dead. And I was like kind of worried about that. So
Damn, I was excited when I saw this video just because I thought, oh, you know, a big video about Yorick, 40 minutes only about Yorick. But it's getting sadder and sadder, and well, we'll see. You know, there's changes. Sometimes they're bad, but sometimes, you know, you can land on something okay. But overall, I don't like this. I don't like this. No, Singed, very hard to watch. Yeah.
But like dropped the duration a fair bit, and a lot of Yorick players were like, I'm worried about this actually being good for my champion. I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. Let's just kick it down the line. Whatever. We're going to be done here. I do want to point out one thing randomly as well, which is there's actually a month here where I had no active development here. Again, I started the project in January. By mid-February, I had a few iterations in, and then got immediately busy doing things like anti-lane swap for a stand, and just other stuff kind of
Very
really came up and took a lot of my time. So there was a full month where just nothing happened, and then picked it back up sort of towards the beginning of March and was like, I can probably get this over the line. Let me cut things that aren't working. And because like there are parts here that I know are testing well, that have received good feedback. And so because we've already started this dialogue and there's parts that I know people are looking forward to, let's get this done. And so I spent like actual dedicated time on this for like the last 2 weeks while juggling other projects, and was like, okay, let's cut this down to the parts that work. Let's ship it. Let's go. And so just scrap the W's. Like, yeah, maybe something here, but let's just move on.
You know, he's talking a lot, but he's not editing the video, so I do appreciate that, and there is a little bit of value in even if he's yapping a lot. You know, it's nice to see that he's thinking about this stuff on the fly. And even if I don't like what their you know, changes are, even if I don't like them, I see that at least he's, you know, it doesn't seem like he's hiding anything. He's just saying, you know, we don't like the one shots. We don't like the, you know, he has said that you know, multiple times. I thought Pokrick was that man. That's funny. That's funny.
Okay, so let's talk about in detail the idea that there are more weaker Mistwalkers. So the big thing is the passive grave generation timing. Now, maybe this is not the right actual numbers for like long-term correct for Yorick, but it was pretty easy to do. I mean, it's very, very easy to do and seemed directionally correct. So instead of getting 1 grave every 12 minions until level 7, where it's 1 grave every 6 minions, until level 13.
Attack speed. Hey, is he saying that they get faster attack speed? Can someone confirm this? Do ghouls actually Are you actually bald? No, I'm not. No, I have been bald once in my life, and that was that was horrible. That was horrible. I did cut my hair because I thought, whatever, and I cut my hair very short because I wanted a neutral haircut, and turns out that being bald isn't a neutral haircut.
What's one grave every other
I don't think this is a rework. It's just a lot of changes.
minion? It starts at 8, and then at level 3 it's 7. At level 5 it's 6, right? So at level 5 it's 6 instead of 12. It's a really big deal. Level 5 Yorick gets twice as many graves. Pretty good. At level 7, 5 instead of 6. Cool. At level 9, 4 instead of 6. Meaningful upgrade. At level 11, 3 instead of 6. Again, twice as many. Sweet. And then at level 13, same breakpoint of every other corpse, right? Okay, cool. So generally, there's going to be more corpses on the ground, more graves, more Mistwalkers, wonderful stuff, literally strict buff, and especially very early game seed, right? Especially in the 1-6 case where Yorick really sucks right now. Okay, biggest change of the entire change list right here. Q spawns a grave if you simply hit a champion or large monster. So it's not just last hit, it's just bonk a champion, get a thing.
Okay. Okay, how does that make any sense? Where is he just... How does that make any sense? You just hit the guy and there's a grave. Whoops. You know? Well, okay, that just makes me laugh a little bit because, come on. Digging into... the grave makes sense if the thing dies. So... No, I understand that it, whatever. It's mechanically it might make sense, but it's just, I guess, just pretend a part of his soul died. Yeah, they should make some kind of Mistwalkers should be different shapes. For example, it could be just an arm, or it could be just a head, running. Shaco makes no sense. Well, Shaco, come on, a grave is a grave, right? A grave means a specific thing. A thing died there. It's not like you slap your friend when he eats your food, and then suddenly he dies, unless you are very strong. Yeah, sad. Your nickname is really symbolizing today's feeling for me.
I think there is real thoughts you can sort of have around stacking paradigms and instead of hitting champions, instead of hitting minions and whatnot. I think for the case of Yorick Q, where you are like using this consumable, like this cooldown and this mana to create a grave, I think asking for a timing test or a skill test there, very, very reasonable. Asking to put it on cooldown so that you have a window. Oh, it's on cooldown, go trade. I think those are really positive things, right? I think that is a way to create good gameplay in League of Legends, is to ask them to put something on cooldown and then fight them when it's down. I think that's great. NEQ lightly does this. Yorick obviously does this. Nasuku clearly does this. Renekton healing off the wave from his Q and then being like, well, let's go. There's downtime here, right? He probably burned Fury to get that health back. Like, these are all positive things, right? These are beneficial. But to say, hey, Yorick, you're allowed to queue the enemy champion and not penalize yourself for trading back, I think that's a positive.
No, I do understand, Velez. I do understand what you're saying. It's just that Yorick is special. And all of this sounds like he's going to become more like other champions. And I really, really dislike that. I can kind of live with having weaker abilities, or them changing around some kind of health and whatever that they have done. But if he just becomes like Nafiri or something, then there's much less of a reason for me to play him. I just because the whole reason I started playing Yorick is because, especially it used to be that Maiden, she would automatically go to a lane. No, what was it? There was something weird about it. I think she joined a lane. You couldn't release her. She just did it, right? So there was a very cool mechanic that immediately disappeared where you could Maiden was very strong. She was, stronger than she is now, I think. Like way stronger. And what you could do is you could go in the jungle and kind of hover on the side of the lane so that the mechanic of the maiden doesn't think that you're releasing her in the lane because you didn't have to press R. And you could farm the wave with maiden also because I think she applied all kinds of Hydra, the Ravenous Hydra thing. So it was a nice thing to just kind of, it was really hard to do, but if you get to do it, you can stay outside of the lane and farm the lane. For example, let's say you proxy the top lane, right? And if you stay in the bushes and you don't let Maiden get released, which is kind of a big loss, when you release her. And you can just walk around the jungle, and it was really hard to do, but if you could do it, it was really worth it. And I really miss that mechanic. I don't think I even started making videos when that was there. But yeah, I don't like that they remove stuff that's really you kind of have to figure out, and then you can do it, and then it's kind of a special feeling,
I think that's just good for the champion. I think it's a more modern take on a spell like this. I think it is just like correct for Yorick and correct for League that he can just bonk a champion and spawn a grave for doing so. He has a skill test of time to last hit against a minion. He has a skill test if I got to hit a champion, take a trade. Pauses up there. So Yorick is more incentive to just fight. He has the tools to just fight, and he can fight and not hold himself back because he's no longer, missing out on graves. That, by the way, he literally can't spawn until, again, it would take, if you don't last it with Q, it would take you 6 minion waves to be able to spawn a grave. Or sorry, to be able to spawn Mistwalkers with just Q. Obviously you can E and then, it'll summon things from graves, but like, yes, of course you're gonna last with the Q sometimes. I understand, but like, damn, like that's rough, right? So this is here. Next thing though is because
6 minion waves?
You have way more graves passively and meaningfully more graves on champion and large monster hit. Also, the cooldown's down by 1 second at rank 1, so that impacts this as well. The actual attack damage of Mistwalkers. Now this is actually prorating out his base AD, that's a total AD ratio, plus the base damages, means the actual attack damage of Mistwalkers is 16.6 to 119.4, plus 20% bonus AD. Now this scaling here is incredibly sharp. It's 1 per level baseline, plus 20% of his total AD, which is like way less than 1 per level there as well, which means like at level 1, technically, old Mistwalkers have more attack damage than new Mistwalkers, but like at level 2, 3, 4, 5, when it's plus 1 per level, and it's basically a flat line, new is better, right? So actual attack damage per Mistwalker, straight up better in practical situations in the early laning phase. 1 to 7, 1 to 8, round there. 2 to 8, round there. Again, bonus AD ratio is the same. The incentive to build longswords, that is unchanged for this. But obviously, once you get later onto the game, level 9, etc., the really late game, pure level scaling stuff, well, that's a lot softer. This is just like, this is functionally treated as stat growth.
It feels like it would be more valuable to get those items like Leandry's, right? Because the damage is going to be lower, but Leandry doesn't, the burn doesn't get affected by this. I haven't really done a lot of yeah, it is more damage early. Yeah, it's hard to understand these numbers really.
75
you just get to play them.
As though it was like AD plus AD growth. Whereas this was like very strongly like it's linear here, then it's linear like this, then it's linear like that, right? So again, better in actual practice in the early mid game, definitively worse in the later game. Next thing is attack speed. Certainly, this is generally going to be lower attack speed for Mistwalkers. It was a flat 8 attack speed per level, full stop. Now it's Yorick's bonus AS, and this will count runes. This does count early items, so you get a stat shard, bam, there's some attack speed, you go legend.
Oh, that would be interesting, Yorick with a... Is that what you guys into chat are saying about ADC Yorick? Because you could get very fast attacking Mistwalkers, right?
Alacrity, bam, there's some attack speed. again, this is not better than live. This is a nerf. Full stop. My anticipation of his actual build and runes and whatnot, especially if you're going top lane where you are starting attack speed shard typically, this does tend to be, combined with this, still DPS pretty neutral for the early to mid game, but definitively ghouls are dealing less damage late. That is true. Like, they are dealing less damage, okay? He gets more ghouls, and again, they're like treading water to slightly better in some cases in the early mid game. So, you know, the throughput for laning phase is better, but late game it's just worse. Aside from being able to like actually spawn.
You know, now that I look at these changes, maybe they are not that big. I thought that they are going to be much bigger, but now it's like, you know, maybe it's going to be very similar, but just watered down a little bit. Yeah, again, I feel like there's a lot of watering down. There's a lot of watering down. I'm just reading the chat a little bit. People almost never argue in my chat. And now, you know, these types of videos make people argue, right? Yeah.
Ghouls by bonking in team fights. Maybe a bit of a trade.
You know, I might have to restart my computer so I can log in the PBE. Can someone confirm, is this live on PBE? Because on stream, I would like to play it and see what's going on. Because there's almost no point for me to play the normal anymore, right? Because the changes are too big. So, but I will have to restart my computer because, well, you know, the bugs about the anti-cheat thing is you know, I can't relog because, again, I have to turn off it. If it is, yeah, Vanguard. So again, if it's if it is live, then I will play it on stream. Wasn't PBS arriving to live. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna finish the video, then I'm gonna restart my computer, stream again, you know, connect to the stream again, and then we'll see how this
next change
works. It's almost like maybe I shouldn't even watch it. Do you want me to watch it, or do you understand everything? I'm just gonna go through the slides because the yap is a little bit too much. You know, I can't take it. Sometimes, you know, if the yap is happening in the background and I'm playing, I can do it. Cooldown goes down. Damage. Oh. E for Yorick. Armor shred. What is going on? Okay. You know, again, if these changes, they look good. Yeah, you know, I think, oh wow, you know, Yorick is getting stronger. But I'm just, again, I'm over the long term. I'm afraid that they're just watering him down. But I guess it's fine, you know. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, like, Ilawi W does actually way more damage per swing than Yorick Q.
You know what this means? The E, the armor shred. Maybe he's gonna say it, or but this means that lethality doesn't make sense anymore, because you already get this, and it's a lot less value if you build it, you know, outside. Yeah, you know.
This actually made him worse 1 to 6 because 4% max health is actually not as good as this in a lot of cases.
You know, in the beginning I was excited, then I was sad, and now I'm kind of thinking, okay, well maybe it's not, Yorick is not going to be completely dead.
But it meant that his like mid to late game was like trucking people. You're doing like 10% max health with an armor shred on the kit, and just like he was really crushing people and was like way OP. And again, I mentioned this earlier, limited time overall to do the design work. Got to the point where
I like the movement speed, you know, against mages in mid where I mostly play Yorick. Maybe he's still going to be the long range mage, because they have nerfed ghouls so many times that these days the most amount of value that comes from them is the Conqueror stacks. So this kind of interesting, you know, maybe he's gonna be OP because of the Conqueror stacks, just because, if everything is more frequent, the ghouls, the hits, you know, the graves and stuff, it means more frequent.
He was
combo,
definitely OP,
right?
and I'm like, look, having max health here somewhere would be pretty nice, but like the amount of retuning needed to make this a reality, not really gonna be possible. So let's cut this down. Let's go back. Okay, Yorick's late game kind of sucks. He, you know, can't really use his own leads all as well as we would like. Okay, 20% total AD ratio. Here's the buff. Here you go.
Oh
Congratulations.
yeah, yeah. I didn't even think of that, Velas. You're right. You are correct. I don't. Yeah. The structure thing is true.
Have fun, buddy.
Please, Freak, if you're watching this, add the ability to hit E on towers. That would be awesome. Also, add the ability. Add the. You know how there's a buff. There's a buff for the towers that they take way less damage if no minions are nearby. Just make the ghouls count as that minion that's nearby, so that you can just, you know, he can be the only champion without a wave who can kill a tower. That would be amazing. If they do that, I will just, you know, that would be just, yeah, crazy. I would like that a lot.
Go. So yeah, it's not very exciting, but it's there. Again, early landing power. Levels 1 through 8, you have a lower Q cooldown. Congratulations, you can fight back. Again, does more damage. It's a total AD ratio, so it's better at level 1. This is...
For now, it seems like, yeah, the slapping is going to happen a lot more in the early game. Again, I don't like the watering down of the, you know, the late game, because the late game is where you get most of the exciting stuff happening, right?
You know, 7 damage, which is...
But I guess, you know, he's making life of Yorick players slower. Maxing W is better for team morale than maxing E. Riot's spaghetti code implies this possible ghouls may accidentally because it's actual minions. Yeah, that could be pretty cool. They're thinking of boss. Yeah, maybe.
Which is like not bad. At level 1, it's...
Okay, let's forward this. You know, no offense, the yap is a little bit, you know, I would listen to the yap if, you know. So armor growth, don't like this, that it's getting nerfed. What else? E damage, nerfed? No. Okay.
Miscellaneous balance changes, because we're mostly done with like the big things, right? We said Yorick is better at doing his thing. His QE has a real loop. He's got more Mistwalkers. He can replace them more easily. And as of Thursday afternoon, I met with Aphic and was like, yo, okay, we're positive on direction. We think we're doing the right things. That's great. Give me your gut check. What is the tuning state here? How overpowered are we? Because he's in those playtests with the rest of gameplay analysis, right? He's in those games a lot more than I am. He's the guy for the balance read, and he's like, I think it's about between 3 and 5% overpowered. Like, okay, well, I need to pull a lot of win right then out of this change. Let's go. So the first thing is armor growth. I've mentioned this a few times. I'm trying to slowly pull armor growth out of the game overall. You can find another video about that for why, but basically I think long-term for League of Legends, pulling somewhere around...
Mistwalkers don't recall versus monsters. This has been a change. Oh, leap terrain fix. Oh no, he's sprinkling in the, you know, if you look at these changes, like a big, I don't want to be rude, but a big, you know, a bad thing, right? And they are sprinkling the fixes on top of it. This is classic abusive relationship, right? Oh no. Oh no. I don't like this. I don't like this.
Around 0.7.
You know what? I almost feel like they thought, you know, they're not gonna like this, so we better fix some bugs, right?
Armor growth off every champ in the game. over the course of the next few years. I think it's great for the game overall. So whenever I ever do that, and it makes sense in the class and the current state of stats and whatnot, move in that direction. TLDR, make items like LDR and lethality make more sense in the ecosystem when armors don't get to 120 typically late game. We get a better sort of world for how stats actually work out when they're in a more normal space. EM is getting nerfed. Right, this is going to improve everything else. This is already been nerfed, by the way, but like this is one of that was like, hey, give me the 4/7, right? This has been in there for a long time. It's strictly for health damage off the E and said it's just a weak spell. I don't think the 8 ratio here doesn't really matter. It's from 0.7 to a 1.8 ratio. It's only for the hit important here, but it's like it's just there. Here, have fun, but you get a Baron buff. You use more damage. Congratulations, who cares? But basically, just set the total damage of the spell to the old minimum. E as harass, I think, is just kind of not a very compelling pattern. I'd rather that power be somewhere else. If he's weak because how much damage it takes away, great, we can buff him. That's not a big problem.
Damn, I'm thinking of changing the. Okay, whatever.
I'm happy to give him power elsewhere, not a big deal, but this just felt like the wrong place to have a spell that deals, 300 damage occasionally. That just seemed incorrect to me, and so pulled this down. Our damage, because Maiden is a total AD ratio plus a flat amount. Rank 1 Maiden did 4150, and then 63 to 74 rank 2, and then 107 to 114 ones are going right now. The boards for his ratio. All these, some of Yorick's not. He's not mentioned this one. Mostly huge something. As mentioned, total like 3% at all levels. Like it's not a auto really. Remove that buff based on where they are. Hood is whatever. Okay, now we're on to individual like QOL lines. Mistwalkers don't recall if they're fighting monsters. So the way it works under the hood is when Mistwalkers attack something, they put a buff on themselves or remove that buff based on where they are. It literally.
Oh, that's interesting.
The scripting says when they land an attack, ask the game server, is my target in a lane right now? And it's like literally like physically on the map, are they in a lane right now? Okay. And if they are in a lane, it says, oh, you're hitting a thing in the lane. Good to know. I am in combat. I forget what it's actually called, but it's like whatever. We're just gonna call it in combat. All right. Well, if they're in combat, they will ignore. They will have their own AI. Okay. They will like push down lanes on their own. Right. They will walk and do this thing. And they will auto push. They will follow Maiden, etc. And they will also ignore Yorick recalling. Which is why Yorick can like start a wave push, summon Maiden, and then recall, and then off they go, right? When you recast Maiden, right, it puts her as like in combat, and she'll go find the nearest lane, walk to it, and ignore recalls, right? The in combat buff is
in combat with a lane.
Basically a marker so that the AI scripts.
Yorick is in combat with a lane all the time, as he should be.
Do things and recall ignores them, right? Okay, great. And then if it's something that is not in a lane, it removes the buff. Just be like, oh, I hit a champion in the river. Remove the buff. I must follow Yorick now, right? I hit a jungle monster. I'm not in a lane. I must follow Yorick now. So they immediately would do that, right? And yeah, they would stay in combat, they're in combat, but then they immediately go chase you down because they don't have the buff anymore. So what I did is I added some new logic to say, well, follow that logic, but if what you are hitting is a monster, put the buff on for like 3 seconds. And they attack more than, once every 3 seconds, so they're gonna keep this on permanently while they're attacking stuff, right? What that means is if you send your ghouls after red or blue buff and then recall, they'll just finish red or blue buff. And so that's, pretty strong build optimization, of course.
They also do that already. I guess there's a radius. Because I have had the situation where I'm close to the ghouls, and they still come with me. So it means that right now I will be able to tag the monster and recall immediately. I don't have to go, further away from it.
But yeah, you get to do the thing that all the other pet champs do, which is summon Zyra plants and then hit B and the camp dies. I think that is reasonable to give that to Yorick. Now, again, I don't think Yorick should go turn kill red buff into recall into the auto push bot lane for him. That's kind of extreme. That's too much. That's, I think, kind of not cool. You can turn that into, stealing from your teammates or whatever. So it's only 3 seconds long. Basically, they finish the hit. 3 seconds ticks down, and they're like, oh, right, I'm Yorick's pet, and runs across the map to go find him. But they'll finish the camps for you.
Okay.
And then changed all the logic to make sense for Yorick.
Can ping his passive for Mistwalker count
nearby, and why is if you're fucking cool at Yorick. Now, is a experienced Yorick player gonna spam this? Maybe. What it means is if you're fucking cool at Yorick and you send Maiden top lane and you start red buff and you press E and you send some ghouls over there and then you run into mid lane and do some stuff, you'd be like, I have 12 ghouls on the map. What's up? Like if you get your sick tri-lane push going, you can ping and be like, I got 4 nearby, but I got 16 on the map. How's it going, everyone? I think it's gonna be fun. Like I'm hoping that Yorick players will enjoy that. I'm actually really pleased with that one. I think it's gonna read as fun and enjoyable and.
But it's already true, isn't it? You can already do that. Is he talking about it's gonna be easier to do it or something? Channeling Dig Big energy. By the way, yesterday I saw someone by the name Dig Big. Yeah, it is hard to do. Well, I guess it's gonna be easier.
And like it's just like nice little cute point for Yorick players. No power impact whatsoever, right? But it's just like, hey, you ping it, and you can tell your team I've got 16 goals on the map. I did it.
Okay. I can appreciate something like this. It's kind of funny.
Hopefully you enjoy that. Otherwise, a couple of fixes. The way the damage is scripted on the Ghoul Leap is getting changed. Now this means individual leaps will will stack Black Cleaver individually. Obviously, Pet Champs is really, really good at stacking things like Cleaver. There's going to be no exception. Their base attacks already did this, but now the leaps will individually, so you won't get 1 stack off Cleaver, you will get 4. Obviously, it means you just
They really want us to build the Cleaver,
stack
right?
Cleaver. Is what it is. He's a pet champion, kind of goes this way. Minor buff there, but it is like the primary item that Jungle Yorick builds. And then I fixed the E leap not going through terrain. So this under the hood is actually just changing the specific bit of scripting used for leap architecture. This ends up actually...
I think your voice is too chill for, compared to the video. I can lower the desktop audio a little bit. I don't know, maybe you're the only one who feels this way. Meaning that, you know, now the...
Copying Nifiri Dogs.
Okay, I can actually... lower this over,
what I actually copied was Lee Sin Q, but it's all the same tech under the hood.
Yeah.
It went from move to location to move to unit. It's functionally the tech here, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, because I'm not a tech designer or anything. I haven't looked at the code. I wouldn't know what it was doing even if I could. Move to location will often fail when the location is very close to a wall. And I tried a lot of things. Like I tried okay, make the ring gigantic, make this like gigantic radius you could land. You could wind up here and then move to that location. And I tested like in the middle of mid lane. I was like, yep, you flew 500 meters over to that side. And then I put LeBlanc against a wall and tried to leap and they go, can't do it. It's like, but you could have chosen any location in this giant space. Like, no, can't do it. Tried a bunch of different versions of this, none of them worked. I was like, okay, well, whatever. Well, Lee Sin and Jackson Co work. So what do you do here? I was like, oh, this is different. You should use a different block. You just say move to unit instead. And move to unit follows under walls, no problem. The one downside here is you can't create the same variance in location with move to unit you can other things. So for the queue that, right, the corpse spawning that added to the queue.
This is actually really interesting.
And the way that the old leap logic worked basically is it would create a circle, functionally create a circle around the champion, and you set like a minimum maximum radius, and it'd be like pick a random point around here and then wind up there. This allowed when you send 4 ghouls, they would show up with a bit of a spread, and it's more visually appealing because they're not perfectly coordinated and they don't stand top one another. It looks better. It outright looks better. Move to unit can't give you variance. You can say, hey, don't stand on the person. You'll go 50, 100, whatever units back. But at the end of the day, if I have 2 Mistwalkers that are in a line and I say go, they will be literally top one another. They will literally be, you can't see more than one model. You will see exactly one model. Now, thankfully, most things move around, and Mistwalkers, when they're in an idle state, natively try to spread themselves apart. But it means there's little small art quality hit where if you're for some reason a target dummy, they will converge toward a single point, but unless they're on the same line, they won't fully converge because they're coming this way and then stopping short, and so they'll just be close together, but they won't be on top of one another. Very minor thing here, but that is real. So though, Leap to Unit seems to pretty much completely get rid of that bug, so congratulations. If someone's by a wall, you land E, ghouls are going to make it. They already set the damage. That was already true. When their dash ends, they would deal the damage. That's still going to be there, but at least they can do follow-up auto attacks now. Be a little bit nicer there. Did some minor adjustments to how the dash speed is calculated. It's not going to really do anything. The dash speed and how high they go, visually, I just kind of picked new numbers because it's a new block. You have to put new things in. It's going to be very similar to life, but hey, by the way, you might see them visually a little bit different on the dash. And that's it. That's the Yorick update. I really, really hope you all enjoy this. It is meant to be for Yorick players. Again, trying to fix the fact that he super can't team fight. He's still gonna be better at split pushing probably, but it'll be better. Fix or at least make him better when he doesn't already have an army, so he can walk up and bonk and do something there. Selfishly use the E for his own damage. Use the Q and E and summon some ghouls, Mistwalkers immediately in a combo in a fight. Help his team out. Right, he's got the same potency slow, but he can shred armor for his team. They can go carry things down. It's very common for us to give fighters some kind of team-wide buff that they can use themselves. It's why Cleaver's such a good...
Yeah, I get what's going on here, but overall, again, I don't think it's going to be easy to convince me that they are not watering him down, and making him more similar to other champions. That's such a hard thing to fix and keep that I think it's happening. Yeah. Can you do a TLDR afterwards? You know what? I'm going to play the PBE because it's easy to, look at these changes. That's why I almost never read any changes. I just play the game and say, oh, it feels like this. Oh, it feels like this. So yeah, I'm going to restart the computer. Actually,
good item design. I really love Black Cleaver because it's well, I'm happy with Cleaver, and so is my team. I am a champion that's normally very bad at team fighting. Well, I have an output that is team fight centric because I give other teammates damage. I love mechanics like that. That's why this is red here. All that kind of fun stuff there. Darius' E-Sun, for example, it's a really good CC. My teammates like that CC. Minor stuff there, but it's useful, right? And yeah, I hope this is fun for your players. I really hope you all enjoy it. Probably going to be some tuning passes on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday before this all goes live. If we get wrong, we'll do, of course, tuning passes needed, but that's the update. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Now, the big thing, okay, is this good or bad? Good or bad? Start poll. Let's see. Let's see. And based on this poll, I am going to... No, actually, I do have an answer. I'm going to dislike or like this video based on my opinion. But I'm going to do that after the poll. And I promise you I'm not going to change it based on the poll. Not going to change it based on the poll. Oh, good or bad? So good is for yes, right? Damn. So yes is good, right? I'm guessing. Okay, it's kind of split. It's such a bad phrasing of a question. What am I, 5? I guess I am. Okay, so my answer is this. Just because I like to see the best in, in life, for now, I am going to like this video. But again, it's just because I want to see that this is good, I have a weird feeling that it's not going to be good. But, again, I like to give stuff a chance, okay? It's going to be a bigger orphanage, that's true. I actually wonder, why does he say that you're going to have more ghouls? Oh, yes, he said that you're going to have more frequent pulls. Yeah, I messed up the poll. So yeah, I'm going to restart my computer, and I'll see you in, whatever, 10 minutes, I guess. But I will have to also find my login for the PBE and maybe apply some patches, so it might be like 20 minutes, I don't know. So yeah, thanks for watching this part of the stream, and I'll see you in 20 minutes. Prepare your questions and prepare your ideas for the hats. Ideas for the hats, because I'm gonna be racking up those hats. I'm gonna be, maybe I have to make a new hat, because I made this one randomly, and I didn't poll the whole chat about what kind of a hat should be the first one, because the donation goal went from 9 to 10 off stream. So if you have good ideas for no, don't say Mongol hat. If you have good ideas for hats, get them ready, and I'm gonna come back to the stream in 20 minutes. Okay.